which I had no idea was that good of a trilogy. I got into Mass Effect 1 a couple weeks ago, completely blind, not knowing what to expect, and it completely blind. I don't know any. Yeah.
So lucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're so lucky.
I had no idea. Shepard, no idea about
unspoiled, untouched. Oh my god!
the cathedral. I knew nothing. Like, I didn't know anything about it, and playing it is just the ending, the sort of character writing was beautiful, and I loved it so much. And I'm currently in the middle of Mass Effect 2, and I stopped playing Mass Effect 2 to continue playing Final Fantasy X, and so that was like going from like eating like Michelin star restaurant food and then going to the like Red Robin down the street. You know what I mean? Like, they're both good, but I feel like the Mass Effect trilogy I was getting my money's worth with that. You know what I mean?
Oh, but Red Robin, you get endless fries. You get
That's
your money's
right.
worth there.
Isn't it beautiful when you like play something with as much hype and like mass appeal as Mass Effect, and it lives up to it, and you're like, this is actually really good. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, like I can honestly say the original Mass Effect trilogy, that is not overrated. No, it's not overrated.
Man,
Like
Saren,
there's some speed bumps along the way, but it's not an overrated series.
Oh man, dude,
That's
Saren
awesome.
is one of the
That's
best
awesome.
villains in video games.
In video game history. Yeah.
I would put Saren up there with like Revan and like, some of these. Saren is just a cool villain.
I love his design.
Kefka from Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah.
Sin from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I have my tidbits. I have my points.
You're talking to a Final Fantasy X super fan here, but like, I mean, you're allowed to have critiques about it. It's not a perfect
maybe
game.
if I was around, I love the Final Fantasy games.
He was around when it came out. Whoa.
Well, I'll get to that. I love Final Fantasy VII. Right, I played the original one. Right, kind of pushed through it, and well worth it. I love the narrative of it. I love the themes of it, and I played Final Fantasy 15. Again, love the narrative, love the themes. It wasn't as good as 7, obviously, but just one of the first Final Fantasy games I played. So I'm still kind of biased on that. And I have played, but not completed, I'm not sure, Final Fantasy 4. The remake version of the Nintendo DS. That's the one I played. Yeah. But with 10, can I get into this? Like, is this like can we like move on?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get into it.
It's a 20
so
plus
10
game. It's spoilers for Final Fantasy X, everybody.
With 10, it's just like the turn-based combat felt more stale than Final Fantasy VII turn-based combat. I don't know why. It could be the aesthetics. It could be the fact that the enemies don't attack during your turn. But it felt more stale. It felt like a chore to get through. Most turn-based games, combat is kind of a chore, but this one especially was a chore. And I did pick up Final Fantasy X a couple years ago just for me to drop it again. So this is sort of like a second try. Still kind of felt the same feeling, but I did get further apart. I did get to a certain point where we realize who Sin really is. That's still kind of early on, right? But at that point, I'm like, I didn't find it in me to keep going forward. I didn't like get dragged. I pushed myself until I was expecting at some point the narrative to push me the rest of the way, but I just didn't feel that tug, metaphorically speaking. But I looked at my Xbox One and I'm like, Mass Effect is right there.
Yeah.
It's right
that
there.
happens.
Look,
Look,
here's the thing. You should finish Mass Effect first. I'm gonna, as somebody who loves Final Fantasy X.
See, this feels like a bias is working itself in there, but I'm actually going to join you on this. Finish Mass Effect.
Okay.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you can be playing two great games, and if one of them is speaking to you more, then you're just not going to like the other one as much. So you
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah.
follow the one that you're enjoying more.
Definitely.
Why turn one game into homework when you could be playing the one that you really want to play,
That's
right?
what it feels
Exactly.
like. Final Fantasy X does feel like homework to me.
Yeah, it's because you want to
The-
play Mass Effect. And I
Yeah.
refuse to believe
Okay.
it's because Final Fantasy X is actually not good.
Yeah. Oh no,
No,
Final
no,
Fantasy Final Fantasy X is good. It's
Oh,
a
no,
good
I
I
game.
feel
love it.
like if
Yeah.
I went to it in a different mindset, it's good. I love the
Mm-hmm.
themes. We can like the whole questioning religion thing has always been like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
awesome thing for me. And yeah, I think it's really awesome, interesting. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think, especially like at the time when Final Fantasy X came out on PS2, like the reason why the combat is so simple is because the big thing was like they were really pushing graphics
oh
and
yeah,
CG cutscenes and voice acting, because this is the first Final Fantasy game that had voice acting in it. So those were like the big selling points of the game. It wasn't the combat;
Yeah.
it was that, and I think that's why it was such a huge deal when it came out, right? Because it was coming out, it was that, and then it was like Metal Gear Solid 2 and Zone of the Enders, and like there were some major like
Yeah.
cinematic games really starting to roll out for PS2, right?
yeah.
And
I feel like that's
Yeah.
what I meant by like saying if I was there at the time,
mhm.
then maybe
Yeah.
that sort of like graphical influence that people were, their minds being blown because of it. I feel like I would have, if I experienced it too, I would have like I would have had like the love for it enough to keep pushing through. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, if you think the combat in 10 is boring, then finish 10 and then play the sequel 10 too, because a lot of people like that combat a lot more, and it's a lot more active. It's more like
Okay.
that old ATB style, and
Okay.
it's also a super unique game. Which and I think it gets too much hate. I think it's really good.
I don't know.
got
There's a
ahead of
lot of
myself
games
and
where
I
you can
love
play
both.
anime waifu dress up now.
Yeah, but
Dave.
there's
There
not
is.
a whole lot where you deal with the fallout of what happens at the end of Final Fantasy X. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, man.
Awesome. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's just my opinion on that.
yeah.
yeah. You should finish Mass Effect. I love Final
Okay.
Fantasy X, but man, Mass Effect is so good, and if you don't finish it, you're gonna regret it.
Okay, yeah.
And Mass Effect is a trilogy.
Totally there.
Mass Effect is a trilogy that's worth playing through all the way without playing something in between. Also,
Agreed.
because the
Yeah.
games are short enough, right? But like, oh,
And-
I'm so jealous that you've never been spoiled on Mass Effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I know nothing
that's-
about Mass Effect at all,
I know,
and
it's-
every installment is something completely new to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say no
that's so
no
rare.
spoilers, but after you finish Mass Effect 2, you're gonna want to go straight into Mass
Straight
Effect.
into Mass
3.
Effect 3.
Yeah.
As a matter
Okay.
of fact, I'm like that's honestly like I can't say I wasn't spoiled on like Mass Effect because like I was following it while it was a brand new game when it was debuting on the Xbox 360 and stuff like that. But I did not own a 360, so I did not have an urge to actually go out and play the game. And I had a lot of peer pressure. Like people were literally trying to get me to drop $400 to buy a 360. they were trying just for me to play at that point 2 games because the third game hadn't even come out yet.
Yeah.
So by the time the original trilogy came out, I'm a PS3 owner, and EA decides to drop the entire Mass Effect trilogy on PlayStation 3 and stuff like that. So I went out, spent $60, bought that entire like collection and played it. And I'm telling you, like it I feel like the joy of experiencing Mass Effect now is being able to play every game is back to back. You finish Mass Effect 1, go straight to Mass Effect 2 because Mass Effect 2 hits you like a freaking freight train after you press start. And then Mass Effect 3 is like, you know what? We're gonna take everything you care about and we're gonna make you feel it even more.
Oh my god, I can't wait! I cannot wait. I'm glad I can
Yeah.
talk to professionals about this. I'll make sure to not play.
We're professionals. Oh my
You
god.
talk to professionals, aka old people who played it 15
Yeah, you
years
just
ago.
have more experience than me. So what can I say?
Oh, I'm jealous. that you got
I
to play
hated
that.
Mass Effect 1 the first time I played it back in like 2007 or 2008.
Really?
I hated it. Yeah.
What were your complaints?
I just I think I expected it to be a shooter. And Mass Effect 1 is not really a shooter. It's an RPG. And then they get
Yeah.
more like shooters as the series goes along. They kind of
Yeah.
tone down the RPG stuff and make it a better shooter. And I was expecting it to just be like Halo with RPG stats, and it was not. and I think that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah, if it wasn't for friends like pushing me to play Mass Effect 1, because Mass Effect 1 came out in a time when like I just was not playing RPGs anymore. I feel like the RPG formula had gotten so stale, and it's because like my heyday of gaming was PS1, PS2. And anyone that knows anything about PS1, PS2, like it was just like it's a haven / graveyard for JRPGs and just RPGs in general and stuff like that. So like I was RPG'd out. And I was like, man, there's no way I'm going to play any more RPGs. And when I heard Mass Effect was out, and when Mass Effect was an RPG that played like an action game, I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. And so, yeah, when I actually played the trilogy, if it wasn't for the fact that people were actually pushing me to keep on, I was like, man, like I'm just going to take my time. Like, no, play it. And like beating Mass Effect 1 paid off though. It paid off tremendously.
I don't think I would have like played through the trilogy or started the trilogy if I wasn't trying to impress a girl, but
Hey,
definitely
that's as good a motivation
that was
as
my
any.
motivation to boot up Mass Effect 1, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful for that decision.
There you go.
I've done worse things to impress women, so it's
I know, playing a game for 60 hours, that's tame.
Yeah.
Oh no!
No.
One of the greatest.
You need to
trilogies
play
of
one
all
of the best
time.
trilogies of all time. Whatever will I do?
It is a win-win situation for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. First of all, trying to impress a girl that plays games. Where were those when I was,
Yeah.
your age? But that's
Yeah. I know.
different story for a different day and maybe another show, perhaps.
Yeah. Another topic. Yeah.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.